There is nothing that happens by fate or chance. Your actions create your destiny, and that's karma. Imagine karma hitting back at you in the worst way possible. This is what happened to 11 high school girls. So let's dig right into this thriller drama and see what unfolds in every scene. Mary, a high school girl, wakes up and finds her head covered with a satin bag. After regaining consciousness, she threw the bag off her head and saw many other girls in the same as hers. Their heads were covered, and they were unconscious. She inspected the room and saw European-style architecture. The door to the room opened with a creak and closed with a bam. Mary got scared and wondered what was happening. Then she noticed that her legs had been shackled in an iron lock. The other girls start to regain their senses and strip the satin bags from their faces. They began to show their faces. She instantly recognized them after regaining consciousness. All the girls looked panicked, and none of them had any clue why they were there with their legs shackled. Among those girls, Mary spotted her best friend, Serena. She asked Serena what she was doing before she got there. She told her that she was going back home from her job when she heard someone talking in a foreign language, and then she woke up here. One girl said the same thing happened to her as well. One by one, every girl woke up. They all had their phones with them, but there was no Wi-Fi. Many clocks were on the wall, but they all showed the wrong time. Serena saw her phone and calculated the time. They had been unconscious for 7 hours. Then some rats emerged on the table, and all the girls started to scream. After the rats went away and everyone woke up, the girls realized they all studied in the same class. Then Kyoko, one of the girls, said this might be a dream. But after some time, they realized that they weren't in a dream. They know that their legs are shackled in an iron cast. They tried to move their legs, but no one could get free. Then some of them started praying, and the others tried to console each other. Then one of the girls remembered that it was their last day of high school. It was their graduation day. Some girls went under the table and tried to break the lock of the iron cast by any means, but in vain. Others tried to figure ways to get out. Then they said that she had seen them sitting in the same order somewhere, but she couldn't remember. While they were trying to figure out where they would be sitting in the same order, they realized that one of the seats was empty. Then again, the door creaked open and closed with a loud thud. Then the girls told others that there were 20 students in our class, and out of which only 11 were locked there. Then 2 girls went under the seat and discussed that the empty seat was of Miho, who disappeared mysteriously 3 months ago. Then a few rats came under the table, and the girls began to scream. Then Serena advised that they should try to break the floor, even if they can't remove the leg shackles. So they all moved their legs with Serena's cue, but none of them noticed that an iron armor was moving. She told others, but they brushed off her concerns. They started moving their legs simultaneously, which shook the floor, and the iron armor fell on the table. Inside the armor came out dozens of rats, and all the girls again started screaming at the top of their lungs. They got exhausted, and the rats went away. But suddenly, the alarm clock went on and started making noise. Mary noticed the door moving and getting locked. She told others that she had bad feelings about all this. Then one of them felt something under the table, and they all panicked. But it was nothing. Then suddenly, one girl remembered about their sitting arrangement. She took out her phone and wanted to show something to everyone, but then all the lights went off. The girls get terrorized, but lights come after a while. Then they noticed that Mao, the girl who was about to tell the others about the sitting arrangement, had vanished. On her phone was a picture of them sitting at a table, and Miho, the lost girl, sitting in the center. After the disappearance of Mao, the girls got more scared. One of them got under the table and saw that the iron shackles that Mao was in were still locked, but she was gone. Shiho, the girl who couldn't talk, wrote that she was scared on her phone. Then suddenly, one of the girls saw someone passing by near the door, and they all got afraid. Then the same thing happened. The door closed with a loud noise. More than seeing Mao's phone, she took the phone and saw the picture of them sitting somewhere in the same arrangement as they were all sitting now. She saw one empty seat and tried to figure out something. Kyoko got agitated and asked her what is happening, but Mary didn't reply. She kept looking at the phone. In desperation, she searched the table and found a jar with a lid filled with water, and inside it was a key. She tried to open it, but couldn't. Then she went down to the table and broke the jar. She picked up the key and tried to open the lock, but the key wasn't a fit. Meanwhile, Miri remains busy figuring out the mystery. Serena then suggested that they should break the skylight made on the ceiling so they could grab someone's attention. Some girls said that those who kept them there would get angry if they did anything like it, but Serena found an orange and hit the skylight. Unfortunately, Nothing happened. Meanwhile, down the table, one girl found a bunch of keys, and Kyoko tried to use each of them to open the lock. Meanwhile, Miri was busy finding clues in the room. She saw a portrait of two little kids hugging each other. Then suddenly, a book caught her eye. She saw a picture of the book while Serena kept trying to break the skylight. Shiho also tried, but in vain. In the book was written, "I guess everything reminds you of something." She explained to others that these lines were written in that book, and the writer of it was Hemingway. She explained further that this could be a clue. The book was about a father and son's bond and love. She added that the one who had taken them here wanted them to remember something. Then she gazed at Miho's empty chair and said that whoever had brought them here wanted them to think of Miho. Then she remembered Miho as a charming and vibrant girl. But some incident happened at school, and she became confined to her wheelchair. Then, after a while, she stopped coming to school. And 3 months before, she disappeared. They expected something to happen, but everything remained the same. But then Miri added that all girls that are held captive here were those that bullied Miho. Miri said it's a punishment for misbehaving with Miho. She said that she doesn't mock Miho, but she was getting poorly treated, which is just as bad. Then one of the rebellious girls started behaving oddly. She said she wasn't afraid of Miho, and then she picked up a glass and drank the liquid in it. Then Kyoko picked up a glass and started drinking. She declared that whatever was in that glass tasted good. Then some of the other girls picked up their glasses and started drinking. Suddenly, one of them began to choke, and the other girls panicked that something would happen too as they sipped from the glass to buy. It turned out this girl was kidding. Then all of a sudden, the alarm of one of the clocks went on. One of the girls exclaimed that after one of such alarms, Mao disappeared, and it was now someone else's turn. One girl, Mai, then tried to persuade Serena to apologize to Miho. She added that it was all Serena's fault. Then the light went off again, and this time, it was Mei who disappeared. After the disappearance of Mei, the girls became more panicked. She vanished in the same fashion as Mao did. Now everyone started interrogating Serena about what Mei said before she disappeared. Serena furiously replied that she had bullied Miho the way they all did. And that's it. She didn't do anything more wrong. Miri took Serena's side, and she said Mei would always blame her when she was in trouble. Kyoko wasn't buying anything Serena said, and she told one of the girls that they would have to make Serena of what they wanted to be free. In agitation, the girls even started blaming Shiho, who lost her voice when Miho got missing. They took it as a sign that Shiho may be involved in it. Then everyone started blaming each other and asked others to confess. Giant toads began falling from the ceiling, and the girls screamed like anything. While in utmost panic, Miri and Serena pledged to stick to each other. Then some of the girls remembered that someone tried to scare Miho by putting a rat in her bag, and the same is the case with the frogs. Kyoko figured that all these were a message from Miho. She lost her legs due to someone's bullying, and now they can't walk or use their legs either, as they are shackled with iron casts. She added that Miho is after the one that took her legs. There's a liar in the room. Kyoko suspected Serena and asked to see her chat history. One of the girls that after Miho got disabled, Mei sent a message to Serena related to it, and she was telling about it before she disappeared. Serena said that she would only show her phone to Miri, but Miri hesitated. Kyoko disagreed and said Miri would cover for her friend. Serena forwarded her phone to Miri, but she denied even holding it and said she could never lie about it. Miri asked Serena to show her phone to everyone. Serena was disappointed that Miri suspected her. Miri asked her to confess, and Kyoko got furious with her. Then Serena blamed Kyoko for threatening Miho by using a piece of glass. Then suddenly, the clock alarm rang, and everyone exclaimed that it was now Serena's turn. They asked her to apologize to Miho. Serena panicked and said she didn't do anything. One of the girls asked if she was the one who pushed her down the stairs, to which she replied, panicking, that she just wanted to scare her a little. Serena cried, and Miho fell down the stairs on purpose, and she didn't do anything. It's Miho's fault and not hers. She started apologizing, but suddenly looked at Miho's empty chair and said it was her fault, and she was not involved, and she even cursed Miho. In a flash of seconds, all the lights went off, and when the lights came, Serena vanished like Mao and Mei. The others saw if now they are free as the culprit apologized, but unfortunately, they were still shackled. They thought they would be released after the culprit came to light, but they were wrong. They started searching the table again, but oil started dripping from the ceiling. Meanwhile, Miri kept thinking about her best friend Serena, while others were getting worried about the dripping oil. One of the girls lost her senses and suggested that they should put the place on fire, and that's how they could attract someone's attention. One of the girls supported her idea, while others blatantly denied it. The girl who helped with the destructive plan took out a lighter, but some girl snatched it and threw it away. But Sayaka, the girl who came up with the plan, tried to make the candle fall off and start the fire, but missed. The girls now have begun to lose their minds, and then one of them plays music to lighten up the environment a little bit. One girl started singing with her, while others prayed. The oil kept dripping from the ceiling. Cage and Shiho were under the table when Shiho told her that her phone's battery had died and that she wanted to say something. Cage gave Shiho her cell phone, and on voice translator, Shiho wrote that the culprit was not Miho. Then Cage wrote her words to others that during the school lacrosse team spilled oil they were using to make donuts, and someone wanted them to remember that incident. Just then, a notification came on Cage's phone and others too that startled everyone. What will happen next? We will find out in our next episode. Take care till then, and keep watching us. Sorry for the long break, guys, but we're back. Let's do this. The episode started with a flashback when Miho and their friends invited Mai to join the Perfect Justice Group. This group was to purify the world from evil. This group had an account, and the members there posted anything good they did, along with the pictures. They aimed to bring justice. Mai joined the group. Now, back to the current situation. All the girls got a notification on their phone that Perfect had posted something. And after that, the Wi-Fi signal went down. Miri was the post, and it was their picture with a caption that said, "Everything reminds you of something." They all concluded that Miho was trying to tell them something via this post. Suddenly, Cage realized that when one of the clocks in the room hit 12, the alarm began to ring, and then one of them went missing. Then Miri calculated the number of clocks in the room. It turns out that there were 12 clocks. And as each clock reached 12, one of the girls went missing, so there was one clock for each girl. Then they spotted a clock that was about to hit 12. They all begin to panic. Shiho then suggested that it could be the Perfect's victim seeking revenge this way. Miri added that this was probably why Miho got lost, because she was the leader of Perfect. They all agreed on confessing what they did and posted for Perfect. Miri showed a pic of the car that had been vandalized by paint. The car was of the owner of a sweatshop. Kyoko said that Mai and Serena did that and showed everyone a video to support her statement. Amidst this panic, the clock struck 12 and the room went dark, but no one disappeared when the lights came. However, the girls couldn't even get a sigh of relief. Suddenly, a limping man came into the room with his head covered with the same satin bag. He had a tea trolley. He picked up everything on the table and put it on his trolley. Kyoko picked up a knife and hid it. After picking up everything, he lay a clean table cover, then put cups and saucers in front of each girl, and then marched toward the door. Miri stopped him and asked what they should do to get released. The man said nothing and glanced at a deer head mounted on the wall. When he left, the girls discussed who the man could be. Some suggested that he might be kidnapped like them. Others said he could be Perfect. Among all this discussion, they spotted another clock about to hit 12. They again begin to confess their crimes for Perfect. But again, the same man entered with something inside the kettle. He then took Cage's phone, pointed out one pic, and sat down on what was supposed to be Miho's chair. He pointed to Miri to show everyone on a post. That post was of shoplifting expired meat. They all said Mao did it. Then Miri passed a post related to a pervert teacher and asked everyone about the post about robbing a scammer and putting his money in a donation box. Then Kyoko thought of something and threw her spoon on the floor. When the man leaned to pick it up, she tried to stab him, but Cage's cup fell off the table and broke. The man went to pick up the broken glass pieces, but Cage picked up a piece of glass and put it on his throat. The man managed to tackle Cage and took the piece out of her hands. Then he rang the small bell. The lights went off, and when it came back, Cage disappeared. The girls remembered when their teacher, Mr. Hayashi, introduced a new girl, Cage, in class. He made her sit near Miho, and she invited Cage to her group called Perfect. Miho explained to her that it was a group that cleansed the dirt from the world. Now, back to the time when Cage disappeared. The girls panicked, but Kyoko yelled at the man with the satin bag on his head. He then poured some liquid into each of their cups and added a white powder. The girls said if the man wanted them to drink it, there would be some poison, but Miri denied it. She said this drink and mixture were to make them remember something. The girls then apologized to the man and said all that they did for Perfect was to provide justice. They even blamed Miho for the whole idea. But Kyoko started yelling at the man, calling him a pervert. This was her plan, to bring the man to her so that she could stab him. As the man stood up, she threw her cup at him and gave the knife to Ayaka to hit him while she distracted her, but their plan did not work, and he stopped them. Then he asked Ayaka to drink the liquid in the cup, but Kyoko said she would drink. She took a sip and spat it out because it was bitter. Shiho declared that the white thing wasn't poison, but a sleeping medicine that she had been taking for a while. Suddenly, Mana remembered something. She searched out a post on Perfect, which had a video of a bunch of boys badmouthing a girl. Then they sipped on their bitter drinks. They slept a few minutes later, and someone had written on their faces. The man came to Mana, gave her blank paper and a pen, and asked her to write. Miri suggested that she should write Perfect, and the man wanted to check her handwriting. Mana did the same. The man then asked her to write again, but Mana said she didn't do anything. She blamed Miho, Mao, and Memi for this. Memi confessed then she did call the boys to the karaoke cafe because Miho told her to do so. The man then picked up the cups from the table and went out of the room. After that, the girls discussed that the one who held them here could be one of those boys. One of the boys misbehaved with a girl from their school, and Miho wanted to punish them, so she did this to them. Mana said that one blonde guy threatened her that he would kill her. Then Kyoko and Ayaka discussed that it was their graduation day. Ayaka said that many things happened, making this graduation day a bad idea. First, Miho disappeared, and then Mr. Hayashi got fired. Then the man entered the room again, and this time he had an aluminum baseball bat. The girls thought that he was one of the boys. Kyoko suggested that all this probably has something to do with Hayashi, as he was the one who beat some of them with the bat. The man then took out the tab and played the clip, which had bad news about the teacher who had beaten high school kids to teach them a lesson. Miri said that maybe a man's leg is affected because of Hayashi's hit by a bat. They all think they were kidnapped because they were Hayashi's students. Then they badmouthed Hayashi. Memi even said he was a pervert who assaulted her. The man leaned on Memi and started tapping his fingers. Seeing this, Memi got terrified. The man then rang the man, and when the lights came on, there was no bag on his head to hide his identity. The man was Mr. Hayashi. In the flashback, 3 of these girls were studying something in their class when a teacher called Mr. Hayashi entered. The girls chatted with him for a while, and then Hayashi came out, but called Cage to come with him, as he wanted to talk to her about something. He interrogated her about Miho's fall from the stairs, which left her paralyzed. He promised her that she wouldn't be involved in any of the fuss, but she denied uttering a word or saying who she thought might be involved in the accident. Now, back to the room where the girls are held captive. They were terrified to see Mr. Hayashi behind the satin mask. He had a stained aluminum baseball bat and sat on Miho's chair. The girls apologized for saying wrong about him, but he didn't listen to them. He told them that it was their fault he had been labeled as a violent and a pervert teacher. They were why his reputation was in the dust. Then he stood up and stood behind Memi and asked her about his post about him. She said she had called him a lustful teacher and was sorry. Hayashi asked Shiho to open the post, but she got scared and dropped the phone. He picked up the phone and opened that post about him. In that post, he was labeled a pedophile. Miri asked him about his leg, and then understood that Hayashi was the victim of the boys' fight scenario, and that everyone misunderstood him. Hayashi confirmed it as the truth. Then he asked Kumi what they meant by perfect justice, and how it seemed justified to make a post after he had already been fired from the school. He then told them the consequences of their actions performed for Perfect, and how they impacted others' lives. For instance, the shop that sold expired meat broke after the news spread. The fault was not of the store manager, but about an employee. Due to this post, the manager broke and his daughter had to leave her studies. He shows other reactions to their so-called justice too. He again asked Kumi if this was the justice they intended to serve, to which Kumi said that it was not true justice. She blamed it all on Miho. She then added that Perfect was created by Miho, her friend, and herself. She said Miho did force her to do many things for Perfect, which she did not want. Then, Mr. Hayashi asked Mana how they decided on their victims. She replied that initially, they were just teachers and parents of the students. Kumi was again blamed for choosing parents and teachers as victims of Miho. Then Hayashi asked Ayaka about the bullying of Miho in the classroom, just because she ticked her off. Kyoko became furious and shouted at Hayashi. He also got ticked off by the schoolboys and beat them. Miri told her that he did it for them. She explained that after the sleeping pill incident, when those guys threatened Mana to kill her, Mr. Hayashi went to the boys to save the girls. Hayashi glanced at the deer head and said he didn't regret it. Then he removed his gloves, picked up the aluminum bat, and stood behind and asked Memi to choose one whom he would punish right now, because they all bullied Miho and, according to the Perfect, are evildoers. She couldn't utter anyone's name, so he decided to punish Memi. He got furious and said that he lost a job because of them, and their sexual assault claims made his wife leave him, and now he has nothing at all. He prepared his bat to hit Memi, but couldn't. and the bat fell from his hands. He then told Miri that the only way to get out of here was to pay attention to their surroundings, as everything here is a reminder of something. She then understood that he wasn't the one who captured them, but there was someone else behind all this. Mr. Hayashi kept glancing at the deer head for a few minutes, and they suddenly got up to destroy it. But in a flash of a moment, the lights went off, and when it came back, there was no trace of Mr. Hayashi. Then suddenly, some screeching sounds came from nowhere. Then the whole room jolted, as if it got hit by an earthquake. The girls panicked, and then a little camera flashed in the eyes of the mounted deer head. In the flashback scene, we see a sad Miho sitting in a car with her boyfriend. Everything seems gloomy to her because one of her best friends died. Her boyfriend tried to cheer her up, but in vain. In despair, she uttered that one that should be dead is living, while her friend, who deserved to live, died. Coming back to the current scenario, the girls seemed disappointed and furious about the disappearance of Mr. Hayashi. The thought that confessing about Perfect would help them escape. But nothing happened. There was someone behind all this who had a bigger motive. The girls discussed the scrapping sounds coming from all over the place and the sudden jolts that felt like an earthquake. Miri denied that these weren't earthquake jolts, but something else. She also pointed out that Mr. Hayashi tried to destroy the deer head before he disappeared. She suggested that there is someone who was watching them through it. Then suddenly, a medical book fell on the floor. Just then, Ayaka noticed that there were many pictures of two sisters in that room. Memi pointed out one picture and said she saw this picture somewhere, but couldn't remember. She tried to remember, but in vain. But Miri showed them all a photo on her phone, which was the same picture in the room. The picture was hung in a villa of Miho's boyfriend, Okazaki. Then Miri remembered that only those 7 girls have remained in the room who were at Okazaki's party. Miri suggested that it was probably him seeking revenge for his lost girlfriend. Then Kumi showed them all the video of that day, on which Okazaki was announced that it was his and Miho's first anniversary. But Miho still looked depressed. Kumi said Okazaki, and she threw that party to cheer Miho up because she was pretty sad. Her best friend died, and she can't seem to cope with it. It was the same friend who created Perfect with them. Miri also found a video of the day on which Okazaki was proposing Miho. Everyone cheered, except Mana, who left the room right away. Kumi said that after that party, Miho became even sadder because she suspected that Okazaki was also seeing someone else. Miri then pointed out Mana, and she got confused. They all interrogated her, but she denied that she didn't do anything. Ayaka remembered that Mana started bullying Miho after that party, and Memi said that she got her involved too. Then she slapped her, while Mana and Mimi were throwing hands. Ayaka picked up Mana's phone and saw many pictures of Okazaki on it. Mana then confessed that she did fall in love with Okazaki and stalked him. She even prank called him. She told Okazaki about her feelings, but he didn't reciprocate it. After the party, she tried to turn Miho against her boyfriend, but instead, Miho started bullying her. Suddenly, water came rushing out of the iron leg shackles of Mana. In a panic, Mana said that Okazaki must not be behind all these as he broke up with Miho and saw another girl. Then she pointed out to Shiho that she also knew something and was keeping her lips tied. Mana was about to say something to Shiho and Okazaki, but the lights went off and she disappeared like the others. In frustration, Memi threw something at Shiho, and the silent Shiho all of a sudden started talking. So guys, that's it for today. Do give us your feedback about this episode in the comments. We'll see you next time. Hello all. Last time in Remind, we ended where Shiho, who was pretending to have lost her voice, suddenly started to speak. Let's take you back a little to the flashback when the girls discussed how Shiho lost her voice after the disappearance of Miho. Now, when everyone got to know that Shiho was pretending, they got furious at her. Memi even tried to hit her with something. Then Shiho confessed that she did lose her voice after the first month of Miho's disappearance, but then she eventually got it back, but hid it from others. Miri then figured that it was Shiho who was Okazaki's new girlfriend. She said this could be the reason Miho is doing all this. However, this couldn't be the only reason. Many things in the room hinted other incidents, like medical equipment. Miri added that it could hint at something related to Okazaki, as he was medical personnel. Shiho confessed that she was indeed Okazaki's new girlfriend, but she didn't steal Okazaki. They got into a relationship when Miho and he broke up. She added that all this happened when the bullying against Miho started. Since everyone was mean to her, she thought dating her ex won't be a big deal. Everyone became furious at her and asked her to apologize to Miho so that they could be released. Shiho got emotional and said it wasn't Miho doing all this. She has committed suicide. She added that Miho sent her a photo of a harbor and wrote that she was going to die. Initially, Shiho took it as a joke, but then her gut feeling told her that something wasn't right, so she texted her, which Miho never received. So she went to a place Miho had sent the picture of. There was no Miho, but her wheelchair was there near near the edge. Miri told everyone that it was the day after which Miho never returned to school. Kumi did not believe what Miho said because she was her best friend, so she should have texted her if she was going to take such a drastic step and not Shiho, who she doesn't get along with. But then, Shiho stated something shocking. She said a day before her suicide text, Miho asked to meet her. She demanded Okazaki back, but Shiho had already broken up with him before that. Miho asked her the reason for the breakup. Shiho replied that Okazaki killed someone due to a medical error and was quite indifferent about it. After hearing all this, Miho cried badly. As Shiho was stating all this, all the lights went off again, but no one seemed to get disappeared. They all turned on the torches of their phones. Then they lit a candle using Mana's lighter. It seems that this blackout was done for a reason. Then they all remembered that there had been a blackout like this before when the power of the whole city went down. Shiho stated that according to Okazaki, the medical error happened due to the blackout. The whole hospital got into a panic, and amidst such confusion, one patient had an asthma attack. Due to blackout, he injected anesthesia instead of an asthma drug, and that's how the patient died. As Shiho was stating all this, Kumi seemed stressed. The lights came back, and Kumi told everyone that the patient whom Okazaki had killed was her and Miho's best friend. They concluded that Miho could have taken her life out of grief and shock. Then Miri asked for Cage's phone and saw another post on the Perfect Justice page. The post stated that evildoers stay in this world while good people die, but perfect justice is going to make the world perfect again. Miri stated that this post was made just after the blackout happened, and after that, things went off the rail. Then suddenly, water started coming out of Shiho's leg shackles, and the lights went off. When it came back, there was no trace of Shiho. She had disappeared. Taking you again to the flashback, when some of them were discussing how their high school had ended, when one of them came running and told others that someone in their class had applied to the university where Miho had applied, but there was only one seat from their school. Miho heard their conversation and drove her wheelchair off the class. The girls ridiculed her and didn't care about her. Now, coming back to where the girls are held captive, after the disappearance of Shiho, all of them panicked and started bickering with each other. Kumi could not believe that Miho was dead, while Avaka kept panicking, saying it was all Miho's curse. Suddenly, the room started shaking again, and things started falling off the shelves. This time, the jolt was even scarier. Even the chandelier fell off. Miri kept repeating the sentence from Hemingway's book, "I guess everything reminds you of something." She then told everyone that the medical equipment hints at Hemingway's father. Hemingway died of suicide, and his father was a famous doctor. Miho's father was an assemblyman, but also a doctor, and was a director of a hospital. Miri concluded that Miho's father could be behind all this. However, Kumi was against what she said. Memi said that whenever Miri comes up with any theory and asks someone to remember something, they disappear. Miri added that this is the only way to get out of this place. Even Hayashi said the same. Kumi said that they should not do it further, as no one would want to disappear. Kyoko said that the ones who disappeared deserved it because they committed sins. She then came to Kumi and asked how come she didn't support her best friend when she was in dire need. Then all of them became silent, but Miri started remembering things about Miho's father. She mumbled that her father was a prominent assemblyman and a director of the hospital, but after a controversy, he was stripped of his titles. Once he was so powerful that no one dared to go against him, but Miho took advantage of it and got away after making many mischiefs. They discussed that after his downfall, things began to get worse with Miho, and everyone kept a distance from her. Kyoko stated one rumor that he might have illegitimate children. Kumi said that Miho's father was a kind man and not the one people say. He was actively involved in many humanitarian works. Kyoko said that it was Miho's father's hospital where the medical error happened, and he covered Okazaki, which means he was indirectly related to Miho's suicide. Memi remembered that her father had been meeting Mr. Hayashi as well, and he could be the one who asked Hayashi to build this trap. Then Kyoko confessed something. She said that even after the Perfect Justice ended, she and Ayaka kept doing some things. They would go to adult parties, and Ayaka would lure them out and take them near sleazy hotels and then take their pictures to punish them. Memi asked if they had taken any money from them, but Kyoko replied that they gave her money, but she never demanded anything. Then Ayaka confessed that she kept doing it even after Kyoko quit doing it. She met with a weird guy who had no bad intentions, but instead, he gave her money and asked her never to do it again. He talked to her to get to know what girls her age think, because he had one of her age. Kumi showed Ayaka a picture and asked if it was her, but it was him. The man was Miho's father, but Ayaka lied, saying she didn't remember the face. Then suddenly, their phone started buzzing, and there was another post on Perfect Justice. The post was news regarding Miho's father when he was clicked with the girls near sleazy hotels, and this scandal became the reason of his downfall. Kumi, however, received another message from an unknown number. Miri then instigated Kyoko that whatever she did after the closure of Perfect was to take revenge on Miho. It's because she and Ayaka are having an affair and Miho saw them kissing, so after Miho got them under her thumb, they planted a scheme to get back at her. After the downfall of her father, they did not have any reason to get afraid of her. Kyoko blatantly denied all of Miri's claims. Ayaka, under stress, screamed that she didn't know the man was Miho's father, but then water started coming out of Ayaka's shackles and lights went off again. When it came back, there was no Ayaka. Memi again blamed Miri for the disappearance of Kyaka. She got agitated and asked Miri about her remembering game and taking responsibility for everyone's disappearance. Anytime someone would want, it was because she persuaded them to remember something. Kyoko also joined Memi and accused Miri of Ayaka's disappearance. She was shattered and said she was the one who planned to lure the wealthy man. Ayaka is not responsible, but she is. Then the water came out of the leg shackles of Kyoko, and she screamed at Miri that her disappearance was her fault. Lights went off, and Kyoko disappeared. Meme seemed to have lost her senses after Kyoko's disappearance. Kumi sensed that the temperature of the environment was getting hotter. Then Miri asked her if she remembered anything more about Miho's father. Meme yelled at her for doing all this remembering again. She even tried to stop Kumi from listening to Miri. They started arguing with each other, and the room jolted again. When things became stable, Miri asked Kumi about Miho's mother, to which she replied that she died when Miho was young. Miri then asked if she or anyone could be watching them from somewhere. Memi interjected, saying that there was no one seeing from outside, but the culprit was one of them. Miri said that it doesn't make sense, because Hayashi tried to destroy the deer's head, which means someone is peeking through the camera inside it. Memi denied her claims, and said that all this was probably to think that some outsider was involved, but it could be one present in the room. Then she opened her phone's camera and inquired Kumi why she didn't bully Miho like the others. Kumi said that she never bullied her, but didn't stop others as well, and this was her fault. She said she wanted Miho to realize that she was getting out of hand. Then she turned the camera to Miri and asked her why she didn't bully Miho. Miri replied that bullying is stupid, but she should have stopped others from bullying Miho. Memi kept suspecting Miri, saying she's the one who persuaded everyone to confess their sins. She kept saying unrelated things, like maybe Miho has an illegitimate sister who's doing all this, and Miri and Hayashi are brought by Miho's father in setting up this trap. Miri's family was poor, and to earn some money, she did it. Memi even claimed that when she woke up, Miri was already woke and that she was never sedated or sleeping. Memi then accused Kumi of helping Miri. She lost her senses and kept uttering gibberish. In the end, she said she wanted to disappear too and that she couldn't take it anymore. She confessed that she was the one who started bullying Miho. It's because when her father was in power, she mistreated her very much, and others kept doing the same to her. She said that she was the mastermind of the whole bullying thing. Memi kept yelling that she wanted to disappear too, and then the same thing happened to her as others. The water came out, the lights went off, and she disappeared. After the disappearance of Memi, Miri got dressed and took all blame on herself. Whoever she suspected to have captivated them was false. Miri said that it was her fault that everyone had disappeared. Kumi assured her that it wasn't her fault, and she just wanted to help everyone survive. Miri said that she thought the remembering was the only way to escape, as every hint, and even Hayashi told them to do so. After a while, Miri felt better, and Kumi showed her the picture she had received from an unknown number. In the photo she received was a picture of two girls holding hands. Kumi added that these girls could be sisters, and that the culprit had sent her this picture. Miri realized that there were pictures of two girls or two sisters hanging all over the room. Then Miri remembered what Memi said. Miho could have a sister who was behind everything. She saw her sister getting bullied and couldn't do anything about it. Then Miri said that she and Kumi were the only ones left in this room, and both of them didn't bully her, but also never stopped others. As she was discussing it, the lights went off. Then as the lights came, Kumi noticed that Miri had disappeared too, and that she was alone in the room. Kumi was already very scared when a girl in a wheelchair entered the room. Her face was covered with a satin bag. The scene then moves to the table where all the girls that disappeared were sitting. One by one, they shared things they liked about Miho. Some said she had captivating eyes, while others were in awe of her charisma. To some, she was nothing short of a princess. Then they discussed how she created the group Perfect Justice and what was its main aim. Then in their senior year, Miho started changing. She considered everyone her slave and misbehaved with everyone. Her group also went extreme, and that's why all of them became distant from her. Then Miho fell from the stairs and lost her ability to walk, and her father lost all the power. The same happened in school, and Miho was powerless too. Everyone then started bullying Miho, calling her names, and writing bad things on her desk. Miri said that she didn't bully her, but believed that she deserved it. After that, they said that if they got a chance to meet or talk to Miho again, they would hold things differently. They would try to be friends with her and apologize to her, even stop others from bullying her. Then we go back to the scene of the room where Kumi was held. Kumi thought the girl in the wheelchair was Miho, but then realized she wasn't. The girl then came near her and removed the bag from her face. It was Cage. Kumi was flabbergasted to see Cage. Now Cage arranged a dinner for her and Kumi, but Kumi didn't eat anything. She asked Cage if she was Miho's sister. She also asked about the other girls. Cage didn't reply to any of her questions. Instead, said that she wanted to have her last meal with her. Then suddenly, the room started to shake violently. Kumi became scared, while Cage laughed. As the room stopped shaking, Cage asked Kumi how she felt unable to move her legs. Cage then told her she wanted everyone to remember what they did to Miho. Kumi asked how she set everything up. Cage replied that she had help. Hayashi was her accomplice in all this. She added that he was the only one who knew she and Miho were sisters, but he decided to act differently out of the blue, so she made him disappear like the others. Kumi asked where all the other girls were, to which Cage replied that they were fine, for now at least. She then told Kumi that the room also had so many things that reminded her of the time when they all used to get along. Then she became furious and asked Kumi why she didn't protect Miho, as she was her best friend. Kumi replied that Cage should also have protected her, being a sister. Cage said she didn't know Miho was her sister until she disappeared. Miho knew, but her father asked her not to tell anyone. She added that one day, her father came to her house asking about Miho after her disappearance and told her that she was her sister. Then she searched everywhere, but couldn't find her. She was broken by her sister's disappearance, but everyone was okay with it and acted as if nothing happened. That's why she planned this all up and just wanted everyone to apologize for their wrongdoings to Miho, and then she would have forgiven her. But then she changed her mind after knowing that Miho might be dead. Cage added that she knew Miho was rude to others, but still, she didn't deserve to be bullied to death. Then it slipped out of her mouth that she was the one who applied for the university that Miho did. She again became furious at Kumi for not protecting her earlier, but this time, Kumi blamed her for what happened to Miho. She said Cage applied for the spot in the university that was already Miho's. Everyone was against Miho, but her stealing the spot from her encouraging others to bully her. Kumi became shocked, but then said that she needed to apologize to Miho as well. She said she would go to Miho with others if they remained there until the ship sank. Now, it's apparent that they were all on a ship designed to sink at a specific time. Kumi became nervous and agitated, but Cage hugged her and asked her to end things on a happy note. Then the room again jolted and water came splashing through the window. Then Cage picked up a picture and told Kumi that this was Miho and her. Her father gave both of them this picture and asked them to take care of it. Suddenly, Kumi remembered something and searched through her phone. Then she told Cage that Miho might be alive. She showed her the phone she received a while ago. This photo had the same picture. Then Cage checked her phone and she had received the same picture. They both cried. The scenes show all the girls being released and playing around as they get their freedom. Hope you enjoyed this series. We'll be back with another thrilling one. Till then, take care.